Welcome to the Shed and Shine podcast. I am Gino Wickman. This is where Rob Dube and I help driven entrepreneurs shed their shit, free their true selves, unlock true entrepreneurial freedom, and shine. We truly appreciate you taking the time to spend with us, and we hope to make a huge impact on you. Hello and welcome back. I call this riff the Synchronicity Pocket. And this one might be the heaviest one I've shared with you so far, because this one is really hard to describe with words. And so I'm going to give you a visual, and I'm hoping that you can see and feel this one in your body. And so where this came from, it was actually last month after I finished recording my riffs. And I was leaving the studio, and I was driving down the road, and it was one of those moments, I hope you've experienced it, where it's just like all these data points flash into your mind, and something comes really clear. And so as I share this synchronicity pocket with you, there are probably 1,000 different data points in the last 30 years that lead me to having this aha. And so as I'm driving, it all starts flashing in. It was quite profound. And what I'm going to share with you, as I said, is a visual. And so what I saw clearly as all of these data points flashed in is this: if you picture you standing on the ground, and in front of you is an arrow pointing forward, and then picture an arrow behind you pointing back. Okay, and the synchronicity pocket is the spot right in the middle. This will make more sense as we go deeper. But when you are operating in the synchronicity pocket, you will make better decisions. You will get more done. Life will be better. Now, that's a strong statement. And so now I'm going to keep coming back to this visual because I want you to clearly see this. And so the arrow for me, this arrow can literally come out of your torso for what that's worth. But for me, I see it on the ground. It's 3D. And again, it's the one in front points forward. The one behind me points back. And so if you see that and feel that, what we're talking about here is the many data points that flashed in, is the number of times I've heard the saying, you've got to go slow to go fast. And so that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about slowing down to go fast. And the irony in that quote that's been around for thousands of years is that when you go slow, you go fast, and you actually get to where you want to go faster. It's very, very profound. Then there's another saying that says, you've got to stop. We've got to stop from time to time and let our soul catch up. And so here's what I mean, and hopefully this will now start to really make sense. And so what I realized, and the advice that I have received in the past 30 years, and it's some more of the data points that flashed in, is people would tell me how I just need to slow down a little bit. I never really got that because I always went so hard and so fast, as we driven entrepreneurs do. And so you out there, I hope this resonates with you, but we just tend to go a little faster than most. And so again, this synchronicity pocket, if you picture these arrows, the one pointing forward, the one pointing to the back, there is this sweet spot on that line where it's the perfect pocket, that when you're operating at that speed, whatever that speed is, everything's better. And what I realized for me is I've always just been a little bit ahead of that sweet spot, that pocket. I'm always moving just a little too fast. And if I go back to my 20s, then my 30s, then my 40s, in my 20s, I was moving way too fast. In my 30s, I was still moving too fast, but not as fast. My 40s, still too fast. So as I closed in on my 50s, and as I'm realizing this now, literally, I'm now just finally realizing the right speed because what I realize in this last couple of years is it's like 10% too fast. I'm just over that perfect sweet spot. And as I was driving home last month, I clearly saw the sweet spot. I clearly saw the pocket, and I'm hoping that you will see this because it's profound. And the final data point that made it click and helped me see it is when I recorded those previous podcasts. This shows up. I'm going to give you probably 10 examples of how this can and will show up in your life, but it shows up 1,000 ways where, again, you're either moving too fast, too slow, you're not quite in the pocket. And so what it was is, and I'm practicing it right now as we speak, as we're having this conversation, and it's this perfect spot where I realize in the previous recordings, I'm still just moving a little fast. And when I'm moving a little fast, I'm not saying everything that I want to say. I'm not saying it as well as I want to say it. I'm not staying as clear. And so as a result, I kind of get ahead of myself and I'm not delivering the message as well as I feel I could. So as I'm saying that, I'm hoping I'm right in that synchronicity pocket with you at this moment. And so there's one example, but that example, again, was the final data point that was like, wow, I think I finally get this advice that people have been trying to give me through books, through consulting, coaching, therapy, whatever it's been. With that said, here are some examples that I hope you can relate to. And so the first is I think about when I'm running one of my sessions with a client, okay? And so part of my life is helping companies, leadership teams implement EOS in their business. And when I'm in a session, which is typically a 7-hour session, as I look back on over 2,000 full-day sessions, I can see where when I'm moving too fast, the session is just not as good as it could be. I'm moving a little faster than the leadership team. We're not doing as good a work. Maybe didn't solve the issue as well as we could. Now, don't get me wrong. The sessions are incredible and they're highly rated and they're highly effective. But I see where, oh man, if I just backed off a little bit, more magic would have happened. Another example is just simply driving. Like I can feel it now because that's the other thing. I was driving when I had this aha. And so for some reason that flashed into my mind, but when I drive, I can feel when I'm like feeling hurried. I'm driving a little faster than I probably should. I'm feeling a little more intense. I'm getting a little more frustrated about the car in front of me that's not quite moving as fast. And so that's just a simple example, but this is where I want to give you a bunch of different examples that hopefully this resonates. Another example is when I go on trips with my family. And so I look back, this got me a little bummed and depressed when I thought about this one, but as I looked back on 30 years of going on vacation with my family and also with friends, is I get so excited on a vacation, especially a family vacation when we have lots of things planned and I'm just trying to get it all done. I'm trying to make everybody happy. I'm trying to just do all these wonderful things that we have planned. And I'm so focused on getting it all done that I'm completely missing the opportunity to enjoy the moment. And it was my son that actually pointed this out. An example of not just vacations, but anything we do together. One of our favorite things to do is go to Lions games. And I remember a Lions game, he pointed that out to me where I'm like planning everything out, thinking about the day for everybody, making sure everybody's going to be happy. And I'm just like totally unconscious. And so it was like, wow, if I just take that deep breath, slow it down. In that case, I'm probably about 20% too fast. So back it off 20% and just fall in that synchronicity pocket. And all of a sudden, everybody's a little more calm. I'm not coming off so intense. We're having more fun. We're in the moment and we're enjoying it. And God forbid, we don't get one of the 20 things I'm hoping we get done. That's okay. It's okay. Another example is in my writing. And so I do a lot of writing. I've written a lot of books. I write articles. I love to write. And same thing, when I'm feeling hurried in the writing just isn't as good. And so I've got to back it off. Now, again, we driven entrepreneurs, we tend to move too fast. Okay, there are others in the world that move too slow. I don't have to talk to you about that issue. That's not your issue. That's not my issue. And so for us, it's backing it off. And so when I'm writing, I just need to back it off, slow it down, breathe, and my writing is better. My creativity is better. Another example is simply writing on a whiteboard. So a big part of the sessions that I do with clients involves writing on the whiteboard a lot. And with that, when I'm capturing a list of issues for them and I'm writing 30 issues on a board, I realize when I'm feeling hurried, my dyslexia kicks in, I'm misspelling words, I'm writing sloppy. So it's a silly, silly little thing. But if I just slow myself down, realizing why am I feeling so hurried to do this, they're absorbing that issues list better. It's easier to read. Anyway, silly little things, important little things, a whole bunch of different examples for you to hopefully help you see this in your life. Another is speaking to an audience. So I do a handful of talks every year for large audiences. And I realize when I'm in front of that audience, if I just back it off, and in that case, I've really mastered that craft, but I realize I'm about 5% too fast, so I really back that off. And when I get in that synchronicity pocket with an audience, it's like, oh, I connect with the audience better. My delivery is better. I see everything better. And then the last two examples is just conversations or disagreements with people, family, friends, coworkers, peers. So what I realize there is I am always 3 steps ahead of everyone. And let's just use a disagreement as an example. If I'm in a disagreement with somebody, I'm thinking 3 steps ahead. And so again, there I am moving too fast, and the conversation or the disagreement is not as productive because I'm so far ahead. I'm not even in this conversation. I'm so far ahead of myself in the conversation that if I back it off, slow down, say less, listen more, it's a much more rich, connected conversation. And the last example is just business decisions or issues in business that we're dealing with. If I just slow myself down, when somebody puts a business issue in front of me, I devour it because 80% of the time I know the solution or see it really clearly and I just want to go forward, but that's not fair to everyone else and sometimes not to myself. And so if I'll just slow it down a little bit, it's a better decision. Everyone catches up. Everyone's on board with the decision. And so those are some examples. I hope you can relate. We're talking about the synchronicity pocket. And so to continue on, what I then realize, if we can stay in this synchronicity pocket, we will be in the flow. You've all heard that term. We will vibrate higher. We will resonate with whatever it is in this universe that we resonate with. And then you've heard the term on the same wavelength. We'll be on the same wavelength with whatever that means to you, the universe, God, other people, yourself, your soul. You get to choose the word that works for you. The other thing I realize in this synchronicity pocket is that you see everything. You see everything so clear. And with that clarity, the path becomes so clear. You see the path. And so somebody said something to me about 2 years ago. They said to me, just simply follow the path that sparkles. And man, did that hit me right in the soul. And so you see the path that sparkles when you're in the synchronicity pocket. And then the last thing I'll summarize here with is words can't describe this. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to give you all of my words, all of the words that I can think of to help you see this. Again, it's this 3D arrow in front of me going forward. It's this 3D arrow behind me pointing back, and it's finding this perfect spot. And so that's how I see it. That's how I feel it. The only way this can work for you is if you see it and you feel it. And so again, words can't describe it. So I hope at this moment you see it and you feel it. Now, that was going to be my message for you today. Until in my sabbatical, so I just got back from my 1-month August sabbatical, something else flashed into my mind and a whole bunch of data points took this synchronicity pocket concept to a whole nother level. And so here we go. So then what flashed in my mind, so now you picture this arrow pointing forward and this arrow pointing back. So there's basically this straight line that we're standing on or in the middle of, and we're trying to find this synchronicity pocket. What flashed in next is, if you can please play along and see this. So now see a line going to the left and the right. So a line that crosses over this line that I've been describing, the synchronicity pocket that I've been describing to you. And so just imagine that now. So it's almost like an intersection, for lack of a better term, where these two lines, they intersect. And so with that image, you could also imagine arrows pointing to the left or right, but this image is a little different. In this image, it's just important that you understand what's crossing over, what's intersecting the synchronicity pocket. And for me, what it shows up as is an infinity model. So just picture an infinity model that's perfectly centered on that line. And what we're talking about here is a balance. This has been called many things over time. It's been called the Tao by Lao Tzu, I think is how his name is pronounced. It's been called the golden mean. Aristotle called it that. Neutrality is a term. It's called the way. Balance is a great word for it. Harmony is a great word for it. And so what I've learned a lot in the last 5 years is about this word neutrality. And so that's just the word I want to simply use for this conversation. And so we'll call it a neutrality. And so now here we are. We have figured out the synchronicity pocket. And right there, I just caught myself. I started to move about 2% too fast. So I'm backing off right now because I'm starting to get excited. And so here we are in that synchronicity pocket, arrow pointing front and back. And now this intersecting, let's call it the infinity model, but this neutrality, all of a sudden in life as you go forward, a lot of stuff is going to come up. And the best way I can describe what is on the left side of that infinity model and the right side of that infinity model is, on the left side is the tough stuff, the challenging stuff, the darkness, the fear, whatever you want to call that. On the right side are the positive things, the light. And so with that, if you see those two sides, as you go through life, stuff comes up. And the idea, as you're in this synchronicity pocket, and as things come up, the idea is to stay neutral, stay balanced. When something bad comes up, not to get pulled too far to the left, taking you off the line and out of balance, which happens to most of us driven entrepreneurs as we're tackling things, solving things, having a tough day, a tough week, a tough month. And on the right side, just the same, when really good things are happening, when things are vibrating high, when they're good, not getting too far into that, not getting too caught up into that. When we have a great day, a great week, a great month, to get pulled into that, it's actually taking us off balance. And so the idea here is to, not the best word, but I'm going to use this word, is to float up above those two sides, those two things going on the left and the right, and just simply observe. Be neutral. Don't get pulled too far left, too far right. And so as problems arise in my life, I'm realizing now I'm able to stay neutral, just float above them. What we're talking about here is everything that Rob and I have been teaching you all along. It's what's in Shine. It's all about just simply observing what's going on. Step out of it, float above it, be conscious. Just stay in the middle. And the aha is that those two intersecting lines, that center, that is your true self. That is your soul. That is whatever you want to call it. But that intersection, using the word that Rob and I like to use, true self, that is your true self. And anytime you are off that center, right where those two lines intersect. Anything off that center is ego. So that is the synchronicity pocket. And speaking from experience, and I don't have a lot of experience, but I have a whole bunch of data points. I want to promise you, I can't guarantee you, but that if you will stay in that synchronicity pocket, life will be better. More great things will happen. You will make better decisions. And that is my message for you today.
Thank you for listening in today. We truly appreciate you taking the time to spend with us, and please tune in for the next episode. Until then, if you'd like to see where you are on your true self journey, go to shedandShinePodcast.com to take the true self assessment and receive personalized guidance. If you're all ready to begin your inner world journey with Rob and myself, please join us for the next round of the 10 Disciplines Group Coaching Program. We wish you all the best in freeing your true self. Stay focused and much love.